guys, back again. Huh. Back again talking about life effects and anything in between. Today is a sensitive topic I'm going to speak on about gender-based violence, and it's not about like between the partners. It's about the people affected in between. Mostly if they, let's say the couple, have kids in common or even maybe stepchildren, and they find themselves in the middle of the scuffles and the issues brought about. Like, I have given out I've talked about my growing up and how I saw my mom being abused by my own father, and it did affect me. I will not say positively. Positively in being cautious, and then the negative is also being super cautious, and also having the fear of the unknown of when will that happen to me, or will I experience the same type of um the type of love, because usually by not by default, but by many times we find the firstborn child, daughter mostly, fall in love with people who are like their fathers, and where the daddy issues come about. Okay, for me, let me just break it down a little bit. My father beat up my mom for the longest time, and I can remember when I was much younger, but started to get the feeling of protection for my mother. There's a couple of times I jumped into the fight and to stop it, to try and stop it. I remember there's one day we were sleeping, and it was a weekday during school days. So we went to bed early. My mom had to wait for my father to come home from work. And while I was sleeping, starting to dream and all that, uh, I had a commotion. It woke me up, and I walked towards the sitting room where I had the noise coming from, since the lights were on. So it was not that it was late. It was around midnight, past midnight. And when I just walked in the sitting room, I just saw flying plates. My dad had thrown a plate with full of the food that he was being served for his dinner across the room, and it hit the wall and splattered the food on the wall and broke into pieces. And then immediately when I looked, I saw my dad choking my mom. So I jumped it, actually jumped on his back, trying to stop, like how the movies are. It's just a scenario. And then he stopped. And when I looked at my mom, she was crying. She had a fuller lip from a punch, and she was terrified. Um, and my dad didn't say a word. He just went to sleep. And my mom spent the night on my bed that night, crying all night. I didn't even sleep because I was shocked to see that. It was actually one of the first ones I can remember, the physical altercation happening, me seeing it physically. And the next morning, uh, I was the one who cleaned up the wall mess and clearing up. It's just weird. So here's my thing. That time during my mom's marriage and all the issues that she underwent, she became numb to the feeling of it's happening to her, and she didn't know what to do. And there are sometimes she used to pick herself and run away from home. but will leave us with my father. And when she runs away, my father, when he came home, he'll find me, and he'll use me as an alternative to beat me up in case I did even the slightest thing. I remember there's one day I just picked up his golden bells from his side table, and I was just perusing and singing the songs in it, and he found me with it, and that I earned a slap that made my ears ring. I don't think have told my mom that story, but we do talk about the things that we went through. And at this adult stage, I realized my mom the had a mechanism of numbing herself from feeling the pain. And back then, there was that stigma that if you leave your marriage, you're the one on the wrong. So you're the one who has failed. People didn't care about you're the one getting hurt in the marriage. Unlike today, at least there's a lot of awareness. Um, Also, I also did create my own defense mechanism of pretending that everything is fine. Now I understand why I was like, oh yeah, my family is fine, it's happy. I was just in a phase of protection. Like I had built up a wall of this, our family has no problem. So now I understand it. Some people pretend out here smiling and pretending to be homey, and then back in behind the doors or the gates, it's hell. They're experiencing hell. So for the kids, now for me, as I grew up seeing such, until the day my mom said she's leaving my dad, and she gave us a free will. She told us, I've decided to leave your father, so whoever wants to come with me, they should start packing their things. Whoever wants to stay with your father, they can stay. I am not going to stop you from having a relationship with your father. He is still your father. And I was like, I'm going with you. I'm not staying here. Since I was the eldest child, I saw more of the issues that was happening in the house. My brother might have picked up on it. And let's not forget, children pick up on the slightest things that happen around the house. Don't assume that, oh, when you're fighting, even if you're fighting in your bedroom, that kids don't feel the tension in the air and they cannot pick up on such. Body language is also a language that we humans understand, be it young children, be it older people. Um, so yeah, it was a time that you'll think, and here's a weird thing. During that session of staying, when we're still the full family, um, when I was in class 3 and I experienced the house help who died on my bed while committing, trying to get rid of an unborn child, I became numb. Like the numb, I became numb and dumb. Not, I didn't speak for a whole 6 months. So it brought pause to my mom. She requested one of her friends who was a counselor to speak to me and trying to get me out of that shell of fear and all that. So, and also the seminars that I went through when I was a youth helped me come out of my shelf. I'm an introvert at the same time an extrovert. I have no idea. Okay, when you put me in a social setting, I'll mingle, but most of the time you'll find me in the house. And I'm happy with that in case of anything. In case of partying, I'll be there, I'll be the life of the party. But in case I've decided to stay in the house, oof, the blanket is my close friend. So the impact that had, and I can admit it right now, even my mom, we've talked about it. She even of lately keeps on asking me, so when am I going to meet your future husband, and when am I getting a grandchild? And I'll be like, and then she'll be like, or is it that whatever happened to me when you're young that's giving you pause? And I was like, yeah, that's one of the major reasons. Um, because if you grew up in such settings, you have the fear of, will my life turn out be the same? Yes, and because we have so much in common with my mom, um, she's a firstborn, I'm a firstborn, and somehow how we reason the same. So I was fearing that I'll attract such kind of a man. Even when I was dating, if when we talk and the vibe is, I start feeling that you have some kind of vibe like similar to my dad, I'll run. I'll even assume, yeah. So it did affect in a big way because of the fear of the unknown, which no human doesn't go through. We always fear of whatever we don't know, or fear of failure and all that. So that's one of the reasons. And then it also helps, you either become empathic or you become the abuser. I've seen instances, uh, many become the latter. And that's why I can also understand some of the bullies in school. They'll lash out in school because of their home situation, because they cannot, it's either they're looking for attention, one, um, in the wrong way possible. And then secondly, it's because at home they feel inferior, they're infuriated, and they cannot be themselves or express themselves. So when they express it, it can be damaging to others or damaging to themselves. Um, Others, when they grow up, become the same, either the abuser or the, I'm not blaming the victims or whatever, but sometimes we find ourselves in such similar scenarios because it's something that is familiar and you don't know why you're attracted to that. um, Maybe because of the unresolved issues that you haven't tackled, about the trauma you experienced when you're younger, and now you're an adult and you don't know how else to act besides the way you had grown up seeing. For my mom, I did see her defending herself. That's why sometimes I go on the offense and put a lot of walls, not just one. I'll have a lot of boundary walls to protect myself. So that also made me have a thick skin and protect myself, be like, I need to hold on to the sanity and all that. Um, Other than that, it's an ongoing process. Let me not lie. Sometimes it creeps out, you just, the memories just flash. We are told to forgive, but yet forgetting is where we draw the line. Not that we draw a line, but our memories don't wash off. You might have the residual effects and still there. You don't know what to do about it. It's there. Yes, you did a mistake, or you something happened to you and you cannot come out of that hole, I might say. But it's worth now to you can have an outlet, a positive outlet. You can do it in art form, you can do it in music. I've sung about my pain, and writing the music, you can, not necessarily you sing it, you can even sell the music to somebody else and sing your pain. You can do painting, express yourself. Mostly in arts, it helps with the therapy of traumatic things, um, eh, to my understanding and to my benefit, that I've benefited from just expressing myself in art form. Uh, Others either seek help for therapy is also good. Counseling is good. I've done counseling. It's also something that helps a lot, because you might have all the issues and somebody will help you to navigate through them. Therapy also is good. If that is not your thing, don't look for it in the hard drugs and the alcohol bottle. If I was to do that, I remember my friends make. I'll tell them I started drinking when I was much young, and it's my dad who introduced me to it. And he had in his bedroom, he had a collection of vodka, whiskey. He'll come and take a flash or something of the sort. So whenever the days went haywire, I'll go to his room and take a flash, and he'll find that the level of the drink has gone down, and I'll not be like the other kids how you used that they steal the drink and then they add water. I will not dilute it for you. You introduced me to it, so why not? And I'm drinking it. The best thing is that I'm drinking it in the house, not any other way, in any other place. And people did, my playmates when we were young didn't know such things were happening. They just knew, okay, obviously your neighbors will hear the screams. And true to common African way, if you hear screams that are not saying thieves or we are being robbed, no one comes to your aid, which is also sad in that part, because we have lost a lot of people in that. You hear a scream and people assume and continue with whatever they're doing. Yeah. Another thing that here in Kenya we have FIDA. It was for for women lawyers fighting for women who have been oppressed one way or another, through work, through families, and all that. Um, they were very active during the Moi era, and they're starting to make a comeback because of the rise of gender violence that has happened in both cases, in men and women and males. Men, because also men have, there are some things that are happening that you even wonder the state of mind somebody must have been to get to that extreme of violence. Because of recently, I've heard of a man who was stabbed by his girlfriend, and and then you listen to the reasons, you you might push it aside, saying that should not be a reason for it to reach to that level. But if you dig deep enough, there's an deep rooted issue. She might have had something when she was younger, and now she's in a relationship and she may be triggered by something. I'm not blaming the guy, I'm also not blaming the female. Sometimes we need to understand the state of minds beyond what we see from surface value. It's something to think about. I think I'll talk about this topic also next week in more depth. It's draining. I'm tired. I'm already ready to go to bed. Today didn't have a lot of people, but until next time, you might comment, subscribe, share, and also leave positivity. That's all for night. Bye bye. That sounded like a